Hey, welcome to our Sunday preview for this third Sunday in Lent. And we have a reading from St. John's Gospel, and it goes like this. Since the Passover of the Jews was near, Jesus went up to Jerusalem. He found in the temple area those who sold oxen, sheep, and doves, as well as the money changers seated there. He made a whip out of cords and drove all of them out of the temple area with the sheep and the oxen, and spilled the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. And to those who sold doves, he said, "Take these out of here and stop making my Father's house into a marketplace." His disciples recalled the words of Scripture, "Zeal for your house will consume me." At this, the Jews answered and said, "What sign can you show for us for doing this?" Jesus answered and said, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." The Jews said, "This temple has been under construction for 46 years. And you will raise it up in 3 days?" But he was speaking about the temple of his body. Therefore, when he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered he had said this, and they came to believe in the Scripture and the word that Jesus had spoken. While he was in Jerusalem to the feast of Passover, many began to believe in him when they saw the signs he was doing. But Jesus would not trust himself to them because he knew them all, and did not need anyone to testify about human nature. He himself understood it well. The Gospel of the Lord. This is one of those great scenes in the Gospel where there's so much drama. It's one of the few times you see Jesus angry. Maybe we can identify him there. And the conflict is, a great story and very dramatic. Imagine the scene there. Jesus going in there and literally turning the temple upside down. And then it finishes kind of ominously saying he wouldn't trust himself to them because he knew human nature and how fickle they would be. And all those are like really rich areas, but I just want to focus on one other thing. And it's this idea of holiness of the house of God. And what is the temple and what is the church, really? This is what Jesus is fighting for. The temple had been turned into a place of business and commerce, I guess, in Jesus' time. And it wasn't a house of prayer anymore. The temple for the Jews was the place where God dwelt and where those sin offerings were made. The original purpose of all those animals there was so that they'd be offered in sacrifice by the people who would bring something precious to be sacrificed on the altar for the forgiveness of their sins. And that was really what the temple was for them to be purified. And before they even entered the temple, they had to go through a ritual washing to wash away the effects of the world before they entered into that house of prayer, the house of God. And I guess by Jesus' time, that was largely forgotten. We always face the same problem, too, in our churches today. What really is the church? The building of the church. We call it a sanctuary, right? It's a kind of a refuge from the rest of the world. It's filled with the influence of Satan and sin. It's a place where we can take refuge from all of that. It's a place where Jesus is present in the Blessed Sacrament. It's a holy place, and we call it the house of God. And we need to relearn how to treat it like it is, what it is. A house of God, a place that's sacred. A place where, we shouldn't be chatting or talking or having cups of coffee or on our phones and so on. But we need to treat it as a sacred space. It's like a place to go where you can be in the presence of God and alone, apart from our masses and worship services. But it's a good idea for us to just go in the quiet of the day sometime and maybe just do our spiritual reading or just pray in the presence of Jesus, who's there in every Catholic church. The church isn't just a building we use for worship or something we make pretty, but we should make it beautiful because it helps lift our spirits to God. But above all, it's our attitude as we go in there to know that we're in the presence of God. It's this little piece of heaven on earth, and we need to treat it like that Because what heaven's all about is that we're eternally in the presence of God. And here in God's house, down here, we're there only temporarily for brief periods of time. But it's like a foretaste of heaven. So let's treat that house of God with deep respect and deep reverence, and go there and really open our hearts in prayer, because that's where Jesus is.